Hello everybody, very good afternoon and welcome to Study IQ IAS English. I am Abhishek Singh and in this lecture we are going to start the first topic in our answer writing series that I have started especially keeping the mains examination in the mind, and here we will be doing and covering up the Fab 40 topics, that is the fabulous 40 topics from the history, which will include the different topics from the modern history, from the art and culture portion, from the world history, as well as from the post-independence history. So overall, the planning that I have laid down for all of you, so let me just explain the planning in the very brief. But before we explain the planning here, let me tell you a very important thing, that here you have to consider the categorization of 40 different topics, okay, 40 topics of Indian history, which are going to help you to become extremely confident and extremely well versed with the details and depth of the subject of Indian history. And these topics are amongst the most frequently asked topics in the mains paper. All right, everyone. So here that will be having 30 topics in total from the modern Indian history, and afterwards there will be 10 topics, okay, 10 topics to be covered from the post-independence and world history. All right. So if you have not watched the previous lecture, I had told you in the previous lecture, in the yesterday's lecture, that how many questions have been asked from the different topics in the last 10 years of UPSC Civil Services Mains examination. If we go by that trend, we can say one thing, that at least these two parts, the post-independence and the world history part, these two parts are sometimes we can see a couple of questions, one or two questions, and at a time, for example in 2013 or 2014, particularly 2013, you could see that number of questions were coming, like 5+ questions were asked from each of the post-independence and the world history. Some of them were actually connecting or overlapping with the modern history part as well. So we can say that there is a threshold, there is a upper limit and a lower limit. If we talk about the upper limit, we can expect the maximum number of questions from the post-independence and world history combined not greater than 5. This is the maximum. At max they can ask it. Mostly we are getting the questions in the mains paper from this segment of history, which is we call as the modern history. In this 30 topic, there will be the coverage of ancient plus medieval plus modern. All right, that means the proper subjective history will be covered. Okay, the Indian history will be covered through these 30 topics. In these 30 topics, let me tell you, if we consider the ancient plus medieval plus culture plus modern history, as per the yesterday's class, if you have watched it, if you have not watched it, you can simply go to the channel detail and you can find that video, that class lecture video in the previously streamed live classes. All right. Here you will be getting to see that number of questions are ranging. They are ranging between 5 to 7 questions. 5 to 7 questions. At max, okay, at max. Minimum they are asking 3 questions. So at least we are getting 3 questions and at max we are getting how many questions? At max we are getting maybe 7 questions. Okay, maybe 7 questions. So average we can expect for the 4 to 5 questions coming from the ancient plus medieval plus culture plus modern history. All right, everyone. Yes, definitely, Aisha. This session will be live daily on 3 p.m. and NCRT session of the ancient history, that will be live at 4 p.m. However, if the time does not feel suitable for most of the candidates, then we can shift this session to the 10 p.m. also, 10 p.m. in night. So I invite the suggestions and comments from all of you, those whosoever is watching this or whosoever will be watching this in upcoming time. They can suggest their suitable time. So I hope that if they are comfortable at 10 p.m., then it will be greatly convenient to hold this session at 10 p.m. but that will be recorded one. Okay, that will be a pre-recorded one. Now, so here let me tell you one thing. Right here, let me tell you one thing, that we can expect the line of questions. Now in this session, I am going to tell you that what should be the line of question and how should you initiate the writing of answer for that question. And this thing we will be covering up topic wise in the modern history. So first of all, we will start it with the modern history. Then we will move towards the post independence. After that, we will cover the world history part, and at last we will be covering up the ancient and medieval and culture. Okay, everyone. So this is the overall sequence that we are going to follow for this particular session. I hope that all of you are extremely well versed about the sequence and about the planning of this session as well. Some of you might be planning to appear for 2024 examination in the civil services examination conducted by UPSC. And in case if you are really thinking about it and planning to get a guidance about it, so guys, this is the best opportunity for you to join the sessions that we are going to offer from the 22nd of July, which is going to be the date of the beginning of this new batch. Okay, 22nd of July. Here we are offering you a very beneficial course program in English and Hindi, which is going to give you the complete guidelines from prelims to the interview stage, having so many very admirable features. For example, comprehensive coverage of the GS, current affairs, then mains residential program is there, then provision of the books, etc., interview guidance program, right? And apart from that, you will also have the success in prelims. The very special program is there. So all these things are available for you at rupees 29,999 only if you are using this code ASR Live. I think it is visible to you. ASR Live is that code which you are using, then you are going to get these things. Now coming to the topic. Now, as I told you in the lecture of yesterday's class, that there are few important topics that we need to cover. Those who have not watched it, please go and watch it after this session is completed. But today we will be talking about the modern history syllabus, and in the modern history syllabus, let me tell you, the modern Indian history and the freedom struggle, these are the two clearly segregated parts. And here, let me tell you one thing, that in the modern history of India, from the middle of the 18th century until the present, significant events, personalities and issues. Read between the lines. Read between the lines. It is saying that from the mid of the 18th century up to the present, that means 21st century. All right, which includes modern, right, plus post independence. Okay, significant events, personalities and issues. All right, everyone. So significant events like advent of Europeans. Okay, so you will say that, now you can think that, sir, it is saying from 1750s, but Europeans, they had come quite earlier. So how can you say that this topic is going to be the part of the syllabus? Of course, the Europeans started establishing their power centers in India. So we have to know about the origin of this power, and the origin was hidden in the advent of Europeans. That's for sure. You have to understand it. Okay. Similarly, the important events include the significant battles and treaties as well, and especially their consequences. However, apart from the political history, apart from the political events, there were certain common events as well, significant for the common people, not so significant for the authorities and administrations. Okay. For example, the 1857 revolt is there. 1857 revolt is there. This revolt is extremely crucial to understand the changing dynamics of the Indian society, people, rulers, okay, and different other stakeholders. Similarly, if we talk about personalities of this modern Indian history, among those personalities we can include a lot of people such as Raja Ram Mohan Roy, such as Henry Vivian Desrosiers, or such as the people like Ishwarchandra Vidyasagar or M.G. Ranade, okay, Dada Bhai Nauroji, and so many more people are there. So their ideology, in fact, some of the British Governor Generals, their ideology, like in 2013 there was a question from the contribution of the Lord Dalhousie. Okay, the question was related to the contribution of Lord Dalhousie. Got it? Then issues. Issues means what? Issues means what? This means the several incidental and coincidental decisions taken by the British or by the local governments in India resulted into the significant side effects or significant consequences. So we have to understand that what were the nature of the consequences, how did they affect the Indian people and population, and how did they lay the foundation of the further road to freedom struggle as well as the independence. Okay, everyone. For example, the economic policies and administrative policies and changes. So British period with their economic, administrative, socio-cultural and other different policies and those changes which occurred due to the policies, these topics become automatically important to understand the nature of questions. For example, there have been the questions asked from the impact of railway as a factor of exploitation, right? Impact of the railway as a factor of exploitation rather than the factor of development. Similarly, there have been the questions upon the basis of economic policies introduced by the British rule in India, resulting into the deindustrialization of the Indian economy and subsequently leading to the industrialization of the British economy. So the interrelation between these two, that is a very important point which we need to understand here. Okay, everyone. So all these things are quite crucial. Now moving to the freedom struggle wala part. So here we have to understand that its various stages and important contributors. Now my dear students, we must have to focus upon, we must have to understand that freedom struggle, right? The freedom struggle is something where we can exactly make it sure that different type of the events. Okay, so freedom struggle. Okay, So different events, stages and personalities like the first stage will be the rise of consciousness, rise of the consciousness. Okay, in this stage you can include the popular tribal and peasant and civil rebellions Now many of you will think that how is this related to the freedom struggle? But definitely it is related to the freedom struggle, because first of all, the group or the society of the people that must rise to have the awareness, have the consciousness that they are being put under a type of control. If they are being put under the foreign rule and they realize it, then they will start the initial struggle. The same thing was done by the farmers and the tribal communities and some of the civilian population during the 19th century, during the earlier half of the 19th century. Got it? So we can see the revolts like Santhal Hul, or revolts like the Munda Ulgula, or the other revolts such as those done by the Kol or Bhil communities, or Gond revolts were there. Okay, different type of the tribal communities, they actually resented the British rule, not as the effort to get the independence for India, but at least as the effort to get the yoke off from the British rule. So they wanted to get rid of the British rule. That is the most important point we need to understand here. Okay, everyone. After that, the rise of the consciousness also included the emergence of the reformers, and therefore you will observe one thing, that UPSC has asked the questions from the tribal and peasant rebellions or from the popular discontent during the 18th century and 19th century. Similarly, you will also observe that UPSC has asked the questions from the socio-religious reforms and their consequences, their significance. Why? Because the socio-religious reforms, they led to socio-religious reforms, they led to several consequences. Okay, everyone. So these consequential incidents, consequential personalities and movements, they led to the various incidents which affected the Indian freedom struggle. That is, for example, the social reformers were also the people who were the early politicians, like M.G. Ranade, like Dadabhai Nauroji, okay, Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Such people were the early reformers as well, and early politicians also. So their philosophical idea, their political philosophy, that also became very, very important. Okay, so consequences leading to their political ideologies. That is why you will observe that UPSC has asked the questions even from the political ideologies, that is about the failure of moderate principles or moderate philosophy, or about the contribution of the moderates in the freedom struggle. Sometimes they are interested to know about the elements which were added by the moderate politicians into our freedom struggle. So overall, the comparison of the moderate and the extremist ideologies, where you can see that the UPSC is willing to willing to know it from you that are you able to identify the moderate politicians as the foundational rock or as the bedrock of the freedom struggle? That is why they are asking the questions like that. Okay, everybody, I hope you are getting the point here. After the first stage of the rise of the consciousness, then there is the second stage. Where we can see the early phase of the freedom struggle. Okay. In the early phase of the freedom struggle, what is the methodology that is used, that I already told to you, which is the moderates versus extremists. Okay, moderates versus extremists. So there are questions related to this type of topic as well, and the most important, that is the third one, which will be the mature stage of the freedom struggle. Okay, mature stage of the freedom struggle. And here let me tell you that the early phase will be from 1885 up to 1915, and from 1915 onwards there will be the mature phase. Many of you can consider it from 1920 also, because for the 5 years there will be the you can say the waiver period or a buffer period. Okay, buffer period. In those 5 years, nothing significant, like it was an experimental time period leading to the emergence of Mahatma Gandhi as the respected and popular leader of the Indian freedom struggle through his efforts in Champaran, Ahmedabad, Kheda, etc. All right. So that is why you get a question often that what is the type of question, that what forces or what new ideas, okay, the forces, the new ideas, the inclusions, or the different nature of the participants, like women, like peasants, or workers, or communists, okay, communists and socialists. So you have seen the questions. If you have seen the question papers in previous year, there are questions from this type of topic where they want you to tell the answer about the questions related to the inclusion of the different type of forces, different type of the ideas, and different characteristic of the different participants during the 1920s or during the period of Gandhian leadership. Okay, Gandhian leadership. So that has been a very, very important feature to understand about the modern Indian history. All right, everyone. And last but not the least, the personalities. The personalities is that part from where they have asked the questions constantly. So the personalities like Gandhi versus Bose, or Gandhi versus Ambedkar. Okay, Gandhi versus Ambedkar, or the personalities like Ambedkar, Phule, Tagore, okay, Tagore, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, okay, Swami Vivekananda, Dayananda Saraswati, right? All these people, they hold extreme significance in shaping and formulating the ideas of independent India, or ideas which later would dominate the freedom struggle for India, and therefore they all have a very crucial significance for the civil services examination. All right, everyone. Now let us come to that point here and let us see the type of question which was asked from the first topic today that we are going to cover. The first topic that we are going to cover today, that is the 18th century India. Okay. So in 18th century India, let me tell you one thing. They are going to know about the different points. From the previous year questions, in the last 10 years, you can see in the last 10 years, there are 3 questions from the same topic. Okay, 3 questions from the same topic. The first question is that examine critically the various facets of the economic policies of the British in India from the mid 18th century till the independence. Okay, till the independence. Various facets of the economic policies. So now you can say that this question is not from 18th century, but from the economic policies of the British rule in general. You are definitely right. You are definitely right. But why am I including this question into the 18th century policy? Because the answer is basically 18th century, right? 18th century, that was the time when the British laid the foundation of their economic policies. All right. They kept on changing it, right? They kept changing it. However, the motive was, right, the motive was exploitation. The motive was exploitation only. Okay. So that is why we have to consider the 18th century as the foundational time period for the British economic policy. Now coming to the answer of that question. How to write the answer of that question? Okay, everyone. So examine critically the various facets of the economic policies of the British in India from the mid 18th century till the independence. All right, everyone. Various facets means what? Various facets means the various aspects of the British economic policies, which means the specialities and the features of the British economic policies. So now we have to apply the knowledge that we have about the British economic policies, and here we can simply write down an outline. For example, any particular answer, suppose this question was supposed asked for 15 marks. Okay. So now what do you have to do? You have to write down an introduction. Okay, every answer consists of the part called as introduction, where you will provide an overview and a roadmap of your subject. Then there is the second part called as the main body of the answer. Okay, main body of the answer. What will you do here? You will provide the correlated aspects of the main question. Okay, main question which is asked here. You can, what is the meaning of the correlated aspects? Here you can explain it. You can put the examples. Okay, you can tell the features. Okay, you can quote the data. All right. So every detail which is required to be given in the answer, every detail has to be provided as the part of the main body. So make it a thumb rule that you have to put the introduction part in a very concise and very compact manner, and the main body part is that part which should be sufficiently elaborate. After that, you have to cover the conclusion part, where you can write down about the consequential significance and a future perspective, something which concludes the answer, right? Something which concludes the answer, that should also be conclusive in character. Okay, conclusive in character. All right, everyone. For example, this particular question, okay, this particular question here, related to the economic policies from the mid of the 18th century until the independence of India. All right. Now let us try to answer this question. So the introduction part, it will be like that: the British economic policies, okay, the British economic policies in India were direct reflection of the contemporary right need of the British colonial regime, which continuously evolved along with the changing global constraints, fulfilling its primary objective of the exploitation of India. Okay? Then afterwards you can write it down that its objectives were fulfilled in through the following facets of its policies. Okay, so here you can simply classify the British economic policies into the different parts of the time period, right? You can categorize the policies in the early phase of British. For example, you can put it down from the 1757 up to 1813. Then the mid phase or the mid stage policies from the 1813 up to 1858, right? Afterwards you can again categorize into the later stages or later stages from 1858 up to 1947. Okay, then now the main body part has started now. So here what do you have to do? You have to first of all make your answer right, a particularly well presented and a lucid answer should be there, so that it is easily understandable to anybody who is going to check that. Okay, everyone. Now apart from that, use this flowchart method or any other method as per your convenience. You can simply categorize those different phases. So from the first phase 1757 up to 1813, right, the policy was based upon the the control and monopolistic dominance, okay, monopoly. Apart from that, competition, right, sorry. Apart from that, so control and monopoly was there. Then promotion of, right, promotion of British goods were there. Then exploitation of, right, exploitation of peasantry and artisans, okay. Then discouragement of the native Indian sports, so exports, right. So similarly you can write for the second stage from 1813 up to 1858. Here the end of the East India Company's monopoly. Then you can write down about the policy of, right, policy of laissez, okay, policy of the laissez-faire. You can also mention about the promotion of, right, the promotion of Anglo-centric trade practices, such as putting the import duties by the British government on the Indian goods and putting the export duty on the Indian handicrafts and manufactured goods by the East India Company, resulting into the complete decline in the demands of the Indian goods in the European markets, therefore reducing the most significant export material from India, that was the cotton textile, and leading into the losses of the Indian export sector. All right, everyone. Apart from that, several other points that could be written here. You can also add in the third stage, 1858 up to 1947. Here you can see, you can write as, that is the policy of, right, the policy of assured return, then selective industrialization, then railways as the source of bleaching the Indian economy, okay, bleaching the Indian economy, okay. Then apart from that, the changes during the two world wars. All right. So here you can see one thing, that if you are trying to give so many subheadings, then you don't have to write much into the answer, and as many points as you are trying to give here, they are making it more clear, more evident, right? Therefore, this is a very smart move, that whenever there is a question having 250 word limits, now you have to abide by that word limit. So don't try to cross that. Try to stay within it, but try to give as many points as possible, so that even if you are putting like 1 or 2 lines of explanation with every point, then also it becomes absolutely well explained answer, so that the examiner has the ample opportunity, ample scope of giving the marks to you. Got it, everyone? Giving the marks to you. You can also aid such type of answers with the help of the diagrams, like in the first phase you can make a diagram where it is England and here it is India. So you can put it like before arrival of British, what was the condition? That India exported to Europe, but after the arrival what happened? After arrival what happened? This will change from Europe to India. Okay, so you can simply utilize your own adaptations, your own innovations to improvise this particular answer. This is not a standard answer, just a prototype that how should it be written. All right. Then coming to the conclusion. The conclusion should be very much objective here, that evidently from the references we have provided or references being provided into this answer, it is a certain fact that British had adaptive and evolving economic policies in India, helping them to stabilize, strengthen and promote the British colonial interests through their rule in India. However, this economic policy was also the reflection of the changing necessities of the British Empire. Okay, so anything which is conclusive, after that nothing can be said, that type of answer should be there. Okay, everyone. Now moving further to the second question. So clarify how the mid 18th century India was beset with the spectre of the fragmented polity, and why was there a sudden spurt in the famines in colonial India since the mid 18th century. Now this question is again related to the part, a fraction of this particular question. Here the economic policy, okay, the various facets of the economic policies in the British India, the most importantly the land revenue policy, right, that you will be mentioning the land revenue policy in the first part, in the early phase part, okay, here. So the land revenue policy and the agrarian, that is the commercialization of the agricultural activities and land. So agrarian commercialization policy and land revenue policy, these two were the primary culprits. Behind a sudden spurt in the famines during the mid 18th century in colonial India. So keeping that as the basic fact, you have to write that answer. So this is a type of homework for you. As I have mentioned the descriptive details here, I have also told you the major points to keep in focus about the reasons behind the sudden spurt in famines, land revenue policy and commercialization of agriculture policy, drain of wealth, etc. Right, drain of wealth is not related to the famines, obviously. Drain of wealth is a part of the first answer. Okay, so this is how you have to develop the answer. Now coming to the second question, that how mid 18th century India was beset with the spectre of fragmented polity. Fragmented polity is the key word. Now listen very carefully. Every question has to be identified for its keywords. Examine critically. I have just given you the outline of the answer, but when it comes to the critical examination, you have to write down the pros and cons. Highlighting the negative aspects, criticizing the policy, but at the same time try to provide some of the neutralizing aspects also. Okay, everyone, some of the neutralizing aspects also. So there you can do the critical examination. Now here it is simply asking to know about the information, clarify how, which means you have to tell that what happened exactly, what was the reason behind it, how, about the fragmented politics in mid 18th century India. Okay, so you can see this map of the initial 18th century where the Mughal Empire was probably spreaded throughout the country, covering most of its part of the present day subcontinent. However, if you go to the 18th century, the mid of the 18th century, you can find that there were so many autonomous states, like Awadh was there, Bengal was there, okay, then Maratha Confederacy was there, then Mysore was there, then Nizam had a large dominion under his control, then state of Travancore was there, okay, then apart from that Rajputana were having their own existence, then the Punjab state and the Sindh states were also having some sort of autonomy. So what exactly was the reason behind it? Then you are asked here to write down the various reasons resulting into the fragmentation of the mid 18th century India. Among those features, you can say the decline of the Mughals, the rise of the Marathas, the strengthening of the British forces, the attack of the Nadir Shah and Ahmad Shah Abdali, and similarly the expansion of the feudal system. That is also one of the reason. You can also mention about the weakening of the central government, leading to the emergence of the local powers, also as one of the factors. Okay, so there are so many factors that you can exactly mention. Got it, everyone? So now this is a homework for all of you, that you have to write the answer. You have to write the answer of this question particularly. So which question answer you have to write down? You have to write down the answer of this question, which was asked in 2017. Okay, 2017. Clarify how the mid 18th century India was beset with the spectre of the fragmented polity. And the second question, how was there a sudden spurt in the famines in colonial India since the mid 18th century? Okay, so these two questions that you have to write the answer, right? Now, if you are suppose writing the answer, then where can you submit your answer? You can submit your answer on the Telegram group that you can join by this particular link. Okay, and in case if you are going to look at the possibility of joining the batches, then you can join the batches starting from the 22nd of the July. Using this code ASR Live will give you the benefit in the fees particularly, which will be reducing from 70,000 to 30,000 rupees. And this batch is available in the 3 different medium, English and Hindi, which is going to give you a comprehensive guidance for the target 2024. All right, everyone. So thank you so much for watching it. Take care and have a great day ahead. Let's see you tomorrow in the same session, where I will be discussing the answers of this particular question. These 2 questions model answers of these 3 questions I will be discussing with all of you, and let us understand that how will be that developed. Okay, everyone. So thank you so much for watching it. Take care. Bye-bye and have a great day ahead. Jai Hind.